What is up, DTube? Steam blockchain. So today I basically want to talk about a topic that might sound like a non-issue for many, but I still want to bring a little bit of awareness about this topic. So it's basically the topic of abuse of central nervous stimulants, and that this actually might be quite a big deal. So, what is this? Well, now I mean like coffee and tea. It might sound like super innocent that it's not really affecting a person, but basically everything a human consumes, or well, especially these two things, they affect your central nervous system. And it might sound like a non-issue, like, well, coffee is great, right? Me too. I mean, I've been drinking it since 2013, but then when my awareness started to increase a little bit about coffee, like, yeah, it works kind of like speed. How it like speeds you up, it makes you feel like super awake, and a lot of people love their sacred coffee. I love it too. I love the tea also, but I started to get a little bit concerned when I started to dive deeper into well, when a smart person basically told me that, well, coffee, what it basically is, it is a light version of cocaine, and that it would be as if you would take, let's say, 50 cups of coffee in a day. I think that was around the number, like 50 cups of coffee. Then it would be like taking in cocaine in how it would affect your central nervous system. So that really made me start to sort of think about that, like, whoa, that is kind of interesting. I mean, that is like, so it's like many people I think have like 3 to 5 cups of coffee in a day, and it starts to add up kind of fast. So it's like, of course, people say this stuff that everything in sort of moderation is great, and I tend to agree. I mean, everything can be used sort of in moderation, but it also is like interesting because I then experimented with 15 days without coffee, and it was kind of fascinating because I realized that you can easily become addicted to like coffee or like tea. And when I went like 15 days without it, what I sort of realized is like the irony of it is it actually gives you more energy. Like you actually get more energy not being on coffee. Now, of course, everyone's body is different and all of that, but if you speak in general, most people probably would perform better without coffee. And it's just interesting. It's just interesting when you really start to dive deeper into this. So I started to also read a little bit more about water this year, and just increase my own awareness about water. How water is basically the most intelligent thing here, right? And that is like the main thing that like produces a lot of the stuff, like how water inside of your body, how it responds to your body, and all this. And it was just super fascinating for me, and I was considering it with like, why would I drink like water plus putting coffee there if it's actually just water that is the main intelligence, like how water respond to your body if water wants to merge sort of with your body. So you sort of start to realize that central nervous stimulants can actually be abusive to your body, especially if a lot of it is being consumed. And I don't think many people want to hear it, right? It's one of these things that is like awkward to say, but I just wanted to basically just share my own sort of experience with it, where I think I'm gonna go completely off coffee, like no coffee ever again. And I know that I'm probably gonna fail, but I also realized how much better I feel without coffee. It's just like way more clarity, like way more clarity, way more wakefulness, way more, just way more vibrant to basically life. And it's kind of nice because you also don't feel that you always have to make a cup of something. And this is something that I think sort of has happened in our culture in some ways, where people always sort of go to, oh, I need something to drink. And much of it is probably just laziness, that people always go for tea or coffee. And the tea, of course, is a way more lighter version of coffee. but it also, of course, affects you, especially if you have a lot of sugar inside of it that might happen by accident. So, I mean, it's just interesting to have it in a person's awareness, basically, that a lot of these things that people sort of been trained of, like, oh, this is like super good, it may not be super good, but then again, it's not super, let's say super, let's say so-called dangerous. Like, nothing is really like super dangerous, but it's like if you do it a lot, if it becomes a habit, even if it is small doses, it might actually change. It might actually not enhance you as a human being in terms of like what you're doing and stuff like that. And I mean, it's just interesting to have in a person's awareness. Just to take that information in and sort of consider it that intaking a lot of central nervous stimulants might actually be abusive to basically your own body, which is like, it's not that fun. It's not that fun to hear, because nobody wants to stop drinking coffee. Like, nobody wants to stop drinking coffee, and nobody wants to hear that like 50 cups of coffee would be like inducing cocaine. Nobody really wants to hear that, but it's probably good just to have it in a person's awareness that you probably can be more enhanced by, I don't know, look into something else to sort of drink or something like that. Um, this is of course not like a moral thing, like, it's like you can do what you want, but it's like I think that some people probably did not know about this information because I don't know, it's like it's kind of hard to find information these days. It's hard to find information about like is coffee good or bad. It can be very, very confusing, especially when you search on the internet. A lot of information is just super vague, where I mean, just because a lot of this stuff is like a lot of stuff, and this is the same with the water supply and the food supply, that a lot of it has sort of poison inside of it. So it's kind of hard to like write something about it without sounding like you're crazy or something like that. But a person should just have it in their awareness that central nervous stimulants and the addiction to that is like, it's no joke. Like, it really does change, or it really does make people sort of addicted to it. And I knew that myself because I've been like a coffee addict for maybe 10 years almost. And a lot of it has been just like, when you actually sort of consider it, it's mainly just because of laziness that I've been easily been able to do the same amount of work without the coffee. But I did not do it. Like, I always needed a cup of coffee or something like that. And it's kind of interesting, like, just to look at these aspects, just to have a little bit of awareness of it, both of these things, like coffee and tea, and how it may affect a person's mood, affect how they're doing stuff, and all of this. And just to have it in someone's awareness that they're just looking, like, the most important aspect of course is just that people have access to information, and that's the cool thing with these like blockchain systems and stuff like that, that you can share stuff a little bit more knowing that it probably will stay up, and that's kind of cool. So that is what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. So as I said, I'm probably just going to try to stay away from coffee. Try to see if I can find some alternatives to have instead, and see sort of how my body reacts to that. Because that's also the thing. Like, people have different bodies. People respond in different ways. People want to do different things, and like that. But for me personally, I notice just such a big enhancement in my own faculties, in my own senses, when I can basically not induce coffee or tea. And it's really, really cool, because a couple of years ago it would never enter my awareness. It would never enter my awareness that, like, oh, maybe this is not that great. And this is something also that you see with a lot of topics, a lot of ideas that you see in the world, that things like views people have on different things, it tends to change when people sort of get a little bit more awareness about certain aspects. And it's just nice, right? It's just nice. So yeah, that is what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. And another thing, good thing to just having your awareness, and that also made me like want to stay away a little bit more from like coffee and tea, was when I saw that the whole like pharmaceutical industry is starting to become, I think, even bigger than the food industry. And I mean, that's just very scary. That when medicine becomes a bigger industry than the food industry, that's like when humans really gonna start to just have it a little bit in their awareness of like, what is it that humans are taking in? What are they taking in? Um, just to have it in their awareness and like see how they sort of look at it, and how they want to respond to information or whatever. It's just good to know a little bit. But yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. Have a great day, DTube and the Steam blockchain. Bye bye.